Hello and welcome to Weird Heat. I'm Brian Altano. This is Max Scoville, and today we're talking about procrastination.
Were you really just going to let that one sit there for a minute there?
I was procrastinating. That's how that works. So we've talked a lot about very personal things in the show before. This one is quietly been a thorn in my side for my entire life. This is one of those things that has actively. It fucked up my education growing up. It messed with opportunities I've had. It's messed with interactions with cool people. There are so many times in my life where procrastinating has been a massive detriment. And I think we'll talk about the opportunities where it's maybe to your benefit. But it's a tough one because I feel like it's kind of mostly a negative thing.
I don't really know what the good side of procrastination is. I think that there is sort of we've talked about stress and how it can be a good thing if you've got enough stress riding, behind you to motivate you to do something. And we've talked about anxiety and that fear of something just weighing down on you and kind of crushing you. And I feel like procrastination is sort of the easy way out of those things.
Yes.
Procrastination is, of course it's putting something off for tomorrow or for another time or pushing it down the road a little bit. I don't think there's really, aside from that immediate relief of I can't deal with this right now. It is probably the most widely accepted addiction out there.
Yeah,
I think that relief of being I'm not going to be doing this right now.
Mm-hmm. There are fears that are fully realized. There are anxieties and stresses that need to be tended to, or maybe feel fictitious, but or sort of haunt you there. And then there's procrastination, a thing that a monster you deliberately create to slowly chase you for longer than it has to. And all you have to do is turn around and shoot it sometimes.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for obviously pacing yourself and if you've got a thing you're supposed to be doing, handling that in a reasonable time frame and sort of, parceling out when you're supposed to get things done. Let's say it's a work assignment or I think a homework assignment is the perfect thing.
Yes.
Someone's here's the thing you have to do. You have to write a term paper. It's got to be 6 to 10 pages. It's due on the 16th. And it's the the second when they assign it. You got 2 weeks to do it and you wait until the 12th to start it.
Yep.
And then you kind of start doing it, and it's realistically, you should have kind of looked at when do you get certain parts of it done? When do you start, and when do you get going in there? But early on, you don't really have that. You don't have that fucking sword of Damocles hanging over your head. You don't have that fire under your ass to get things out of the way.
Yeah, I've sort of infamously weaved the phrase doing your homework on the bus into almost every show I've ever done, because to me it's sort of
also getting chased by the cops.
Getting chased by the cops is another one. Yeah, which means getting chased by the cops to me is a saying where it's somebody was rushing to do something. And so it's almost sort of they were doing this with a gun to their head, which is what happens when you wait to do your homework on the bus. And for me, doing my homework on the bus...
In America, yes, that's a common problem.
Yes, it's not just a metaphor to me. Doing your homework on the bus was a thing I did all the time growing up because of procrastination. And the way this worked for me, and I'd like to put this in retrospect real quick, I was a well-read, pretty smart kid that you couldn't really tell that I had those traits because teachers always thought I was lazy. They were when he applies himself, he's fucking awesome and he knows his shit. They didn't say that, but without the curses.
They might have in the teachers' lounge.
Yeah, in New Jersey, the teachers were
having brandy. I don't know what they did in there.
Exactly. No one knows. No one's ever been in there. It's a secret lodge. Basically, I would apply myself rarely, and then when I did, they'd be really happy because they'd be there's somebody in there. It's like every one of those fucking bad movies about a teacher trying to get through to the kids, and one of them gets up and he's like, what Sophocles really meant when he said this, and they're like, oh shit, I didn't know you could do that.
You really stood and delivered with your dangerous mind.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it walks out of the room. And so the way school would work for me was I would get an assignment, and it would be due in 5 days, and I would wait as long as possible to do it. And by not doing it immediately, or even the night before it was due, would mean that I would have to scramble the morning of on the school bus with a shaky hand, driving over fucking potholes in New Jersey and filling out paperwork or writing an essay or something like that. Or here's where it gets worse. Instead of turning in this sloppy half-assed assignment, I would call out sick. I would cut class.
Oh, yeah.
And now, so the single issue problem of one assignment has now multiplied to, you not only didn't deliver the assignment for this class, you missed the curriculum for this class. And so from there, my teachers would, when you started fucking up a lot, in middle school and high school, we had these things called progress reports, which I think a lot of students had, but we specifically had them as ways to deliver bad news to parents that their kids were not doing great, but also course correct before final exams came fluttering in. And so I've heard legend that there were such things as good progress reports. I've never seen one.
You know, that never occurred to me that was the point of a progress report. I always thought of it as sort of like in the same way a quiz isn't quite a test. It was like a mini boss for your report card. I always saw progress reports as they're still carrying that message, but the whole point is that you are able to course correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it's giving you...
31 years old, I just learned something that they probably should have explained to you on fucking day one of 6th grade.
It's true. It's
cool.
Giving you and your parents a heads up, or legal guardians, a heads up that you are fucking careening towards failure. And how do you course correct that? How do you fix that? No, here's the thing. My parents worked a lot. And I would be able to like basically sneak out of school on long lunches, come home, eat lunch, hang out, do some party drugs occasionally, and then like go back to school. And so what I would do is I found a way. So when I was home, I would intercept either report cards or progress reports. And when my parents were home, I would go down the street 6 houses before the mailman got there and be like, hey, can I get that mail before you bring it to their house? And
Bart Simpson-ass motherfucker.
Right? And so now I would intercept the progress report. So here's, as you could...
You put on your jeweler's monocle and you start forging the D's into B's so you can go to Camp Krusty or whatever.
All of that stuff. And so with the progress report, it didn't have grades. It was just sort of like, I just want to make sure you saw this. So that when like the parents, when it got to the point where the parents would call the teachers to be like, this is really a problem now, they'd be like, well, you know about this from the progress report. And every single time my parents, like crazy people, would be like, we never got that. And the teacher would be like, oh, well, we mailed it. And then I'd get a call into a room and they'd be like, Brian, did you intercept the progress report? And I'd be like, yes. And now one assignment that I couldn't finish in time led to cut classes, led to an intercepted progress report, and led to ultimately me almost failing the class and having to scramble to do everything to fix it.
So I think that's part of that's procrastination, part of that's just straight up avoidance, and I think there's like a key difference there. Like, you ever asked for an extension on assignment?
No.
That's a weird one. I think I've had that because if you miss school or whatever, or like a makeup test, like that's such a like a sitcom-y ass like thing where that's what you're doing was you're kind of getting off the beaten path and sort of playing with cheat codes on or whatever. But like I don't know. Like I remember if you call in sick and you miss school and they're like, oh, you're supposed to have a test today. Well, you can make it up soon, and you're like, well, I just bought myself like an extra 18 hours to study for that thing. But realistically, of course, you're not actually going to use that time that way. That would make too much sense. This is what got you into this problem, is that you're going to wait until the last minute yet again, do your homework on the bus and study on the ride to school. Yeah, and this is something you see a lot with people who are face-to-face with a sort of medical ailment they don't want to deal with, which, again, veers into avoidance. But procrastinating on taking care of something very basic like a toothache can turn into something that kills you. Yeah. No, that's a real thing.
Yeah,
that's
totally a real thing. And I know plenty of people, like family members in my life, that had like a small minor quibble, like a little annoyance with something they had to deal with health wise that spiraled into something much more sort of difficult to deal with.
I mean, that's the root of procrastination. It is never. Actually, that's not true. I was going to make a totally a fallacious remark there where procrastination is always something you do for something that you don't actually want to do. Mm-hmm. That's not true. You can totally do that with things you do want to do.
Yeah. Well, I can give you a good example of one. When I went on a first date with my now wife, it was the best first date of my life. It went it went awesome. At the end of the night, I kissed her goodbye, and I put her in a taxi and sent her back to her apartment, and I went back to mine, and then I woke up the next day, and I was like, I want to text her. And my friends were like, you can't. And I was like, why? And they're like, you have to wait 2 days. And I was like, who made up that rule? Like, why are you procrastinating on this thing that feels like immediately gratifying, that feels like something that you should be doing? And so, like, I just kind of, fucking bumbled around for like a full, I think it was like 30 hours. And then I was like, this is stupid. Like, this is really stupid of me. I'm going to do something right now. But some people wait too long, and then the window closes. Mm-hmm. And then, maybe you never see that person again.
Yeah, I mean, that's one example of that. But like, I mean, making plans with friends, like I totally will do that when I'm feeling sociable, and I'll be like, I'm gonna hang out with this person, or like, if there's a thing that I want to do, this is gonna be great, and we'll make plans, and I just won't be feeling it, and then I'll be like, we'll make a rain check.
Yes.
You ever make a rain check?
Yeah, that's something like every adult now does, which is weird because it's like you read a lot about like people in our generation and younger flaking on things, flaking on job interviews. I don't know how much of that is procrastination or dealing with the inevitable, and how much of it is also like we've all just created these busy personas that are filled with alibis about why we can or can't or hang out and see each other anymore.
Yeah.
So we're always just like, oh, I can't do it tonight, or something came up, or let's do it next week.
We're like, it's ironic that we're not ironic. It's incredibly fitting we're doing this episode about procrastination, because we keep putting this off.
Yeah.
Like we set up ourselves a very reasonable goal for this show of we'll do 2 episodes a month. That's every 2 weeks. It's very straightforward, and theoretically we'll record a bunch of them at a time, and it's very easy to knock that out and get ahead of the schedule. But it's us, so this episode will be going up in 3 days?
3 days.
3 days. Yeah, I think we joked about this last episode about how we had anxiety about getting that up in time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's how that goes. And like our wives got mad at us because we kept being like, we're gonna record on Monday night. And then we'd be like, it'd be Monday afternoon, and we'd be like, I don't feel like recording. All right, let's push it till Wednesday.
Or we'd be like, let's do Tuesday morning, and then you'd be like, that my train was late, and I'd be like, how about Wednesday afternoon? And I'd be like, I don't feel well. And like, how about Thursday?
And we both enable each other, and we both kind of help with our own procrastination and our own demons there. I don't know. It's an incredibly awful habit to have. Like, it's really shitty. And it's also like, I think you start to almost like, I feel like there's an analogy I want to make, and I can't put my finger on what it is exactly. It's like you're giving this thing power. I mean, it's like a phobia almost. It's like a phobia of doing the actual thing, and the more you put it off, the longer you push it down the road, the more it seems like it's a substantial project, but in reality the actual thing that you're doing hasn't changed. And whether that is a fucking 5th grade term paper about the Inuits, that was a motherfucker. I still remember that. That gives me the night sweats. Or I don't know, talking to your financial advisor about your student loans, or if it's recording your fucking show with your best friend, or just doing something you want to do.
Well, it's even like, it's something so simple too. It's like text. It's like you look at your phone and you're like, there's like a notification. Notifications are like, to me, that is like microcosmic procrastination quests constantly.
So I've noticed something interesting here. With that kind of like sort of almost old school approach to, I guess, I don't know what you call that, like written communication, like email, text, any kind of notification that's like locked in place. I find that very stressful, and it piles up very quickly. Like I think I have like, I don't know what my phone is. I have like 1,000 things in my email inbox right now. And it's a little 1,000 red thing. And that's a lot of that spam, a lot of that's garbage, a lot of stuff I don't even have to look at. But I also, because it's just so much of it, I haven't gone in and just cleaned it out.
Yeah.
It's a fucking cat box. It's just full of shit. So and then on the other hand, you get something like a Twitter feed.
Yes.
Where there's no number attached to it. Like maybe there's like number of notifications, but it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like an inbox. It feels like almost like this river where stuff kind of constantly comes down. Like it's always kind of circulating. It's not a pile to sort through. It's kind of like this sort of constant deluge. But somehow that thing that should be more stressful is less stressful because it's just almost inherently unmanageable.
Well, there's almost less commitment to it on a personal level, even though it is a sort of personally curated thing. Like you talk about, your inbox has 1,000 emails in it, which almost just feels like this fucking ocean. Like it's insurmountable. Whereas mine, I regularly get my work email down to like 25, 32 emails. But here's the thing about that. There's like 6 or 7 at the bottom that have been down there for like a very long time.
They're like, those are ones that they become like stronger.
So one of those
become like they're like the winners of the email tournament, and they've become like these super emails that you're never going to get back to because they're 6 weeks old.
You and I, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, went with Naomi Kyle and her boyfriend Kyle to a day-long like excursion in the Northern California mountains to basically do cool like Tomb Raider stuff.
Yeah, it was
right?
a Tomb Raider day camp.
It was a Tomb Raider day camp, and while we were there, we met a fan who's been listening to our show for a very long time, who runs he's a helicopter pilot, and he runs a helicopter rental service, and we exchanged emails, and he sent me an email.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I have that email, but I haven't responded to it because I don't know when I can be like, oh, this is a good time for us to ride in a helicopter.
Yeah,
but I also don't want to get rid of it. So I don't. That's like part procrastination.
That's like well over a year old, right?
So that's part procrastination, part hoarding.
Yeah,
Which
so
I think hoarding is also part of procrastination.
I get that with business cards.
Yep.
Where it becomes these things that I'm like, I know I should email this person and do some kind of a thing, and then you wind up with an email, and it's a thing you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll really fuck it up where I'll be like, I'll talk to somebody and I'll be like, let me give you a rain check. I got to get back to you. I got something going on right now. I'll catch up with you, I swear. And then I genuinely mean to do that to the point that I will set a fucking reminder on my phone to take care of that thing.
Yep.
And then I think by doing that, I make it almost more of a process than it should be. Like I suddenly I had this email on my phone about getting back to a dude who I still haven't gotten back to. I fucked up, but like I should get back to him, and it's like, it's one of those things where like you've got the email sitting in your inbox, which is good. I think I might have just, if that was in my inbox at any point, I might have nuked it a while ago, just not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll occasionally just select all and delete because I'm like, if it's gotten completely out of control, and it's like, if it's really urgent,
it'll come back.
To haunt me angrily. Yeah.
Exactly. How weird is that though? Like, then I feel like that absolutely manifests itself as like a hoarding tendency too, in some ways. Because it's like if you have things in your house that you are waiting to get rid of, and you don't, like, you're just holding on. It just becomes clutter.
I fucking hate clutter. I'm dealing with this a lot right now at home. Like, we got a lot of shit, and there's all this stuff that falls. We will definitely do a thing about clutter at some point on this fucking show. But like, that is a thing I'm currently in the midst of sorting out, because my partner, my life partner, my beloved wife is she's prone to some things like that. She likes to hang on to some stuff, and I can't blame her. We got some cool shit. You don't necessarily want to get rid of it. You might use it someday. But at the same time, it's also, when it's sitting around, it's like it becomes this object to take care of and a thing to deal with. I had a little micro fight with the universe the other day. I was cleaning out with this like hutch by our door where we keep a bunch of garbage, and it's a bunch of like old sunglasses, most of which we don't wear. I have like 2 pairs that are too dark to the point where I can't actually see when I wear them out, but I can't throw them out because someday I might be going to some place where it's really bright and I might need them.
Right.
So you got to hang on to them for that.
That's true.
Or if I can't find my regular ones, fuck it, I'll get hit by a car because I can't see where I'm going. What could go wrong? And there's a bunch of reusable grocery bags in there too, which of course you need. We always forget them and get paper bags anyway, but fuck them. We got to have them there. You got to have them there.
Just in case.
And I'm going through this dark chest of wonders, this nightmare cabinet full of things that I probably should deal with. And out of this thing falls a Fitbit, an old Fitbit that was my wife's. It wasn't even mine. It was one of the little ones, like the really early little fucker ones. And
the ones that you click to your hip and they constantly flew off.
The ones that they weren't even rechargeable.
Yeah,
they were like round, and they have like it's like a pink thing. It's got the weird little like bean pod you stick it inside of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, maybe the battery's just dead. And I was like, oh, I can't find the dongle to charge it. And my wife's like, oh no, you don't. It's cool. Like that one, you sync it with Bluetooth, and it's, we should give that to somebody. Which is such a fucker, because then it's like, oh, then you have to find someone to give it to.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I think we might actually have spare batteries of this for whatever reason.
No,
it's one of
that's
those weird
like
dime batteries or whatever.
That whole like, this is going to be a gift. That's every episode of Hoarders, because it's always just like, this is not for me.
No, I don't want to waste it. Somebody might use it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get this thing working. And if I can get it working, then it goes to Goodwill, or I bring it to work and leave it on the table where people take free shit from or whatever. And so I find the battery, I put it in there, I fuck with it, and it doesn't turn on. And I'm like, you know what? We're throwing this away. We're getting rid of this.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of this fucking thing. This little fucking bolus of just, and on top of that, the fact that it's a fucking Fitbit as a reminder that we're not exercising enough.
Jeez.
Like to have like another little notification being like, here's the thing you should be thinking about.
Yep.
So on the subject of procrastination, I think that on the flip side of when you keep putting something off, that it becomes completely unmanageable, and you have this just weight around your neck of like, I'm never going to handle this fucking thing. Even if it's a thing you want to do, even if it's like catching up with an old friend or responding to a text with a loved one, or, calling someone you give a shit about. I got, Jen, my wife, got me an airbrush for my birthday in 2014. It is 2018. It has been a long time since then. And when she got it, we were in like a small apartment. I didn't really have much space to work with it, let alone like time to kind of figure out how to use it.
Right.
I think the airbrush is like the coolest fucking invention ever. It's like a weird analog version of Photoshop. It fucking rules. But again, didn't have a place to work with it. For a second, I was using it on my porch. I left it out there. This was like earlier, maybe last year. I painted a model or two. In the process of decluttering our house, we finally found like a little spot where I can kind of use it. Like I can leave it set up. I can make a mess. I got this fucking weird like Chinese vent hood that is supposed to be for like nail technicians, and it like sucks the poison air out of and puts it out the window or whatever. And I've been like actually using this thing and actually finishing projects with it. Like I've been finishing model kits,
which is fucking. I've seen them. They're fucking awesome.
And it's like that sensation of like, shit, I did it. I shipped the thing.
Yep.
And to have this really wonderful like device that I'm like, I want to be using this, but I got to find time. I got to get around to it. And like to procrastinate on this, like there's no part of like using the airbrush that's uncomfortable. It probably is giving me cancer, but there's like, I'll go to the doctor eventually and find out about that. But it's to have this thing to be like, I want to do this, but I'll get around to it. I'll do it later. And to finally actually do it after fucking 4 years of not doing it, to actually be like, you know what? I've found time for this. And to like stop procrastinating and be like, you know what? I'm going to build this fucking model kit. I'm going to paint this stupid fucking robot or this car or whatever the fuck it is.
It's so relieving, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just massively, instantly rewarding.
Yes.
And it's also like it lifts weight off your chest on like a borderline spiritual level.
Yep.
Like it's kind of fucking insane. And so like I don't know, we're talking a lot of shit about procrastination, as we should, because it's a motherfucker and we're all guilty of it. But I will say that I have, and this sucks because it feeds into my own procrastinating tendencies. I have a tendency to not to pat myself on the back, like really fucking knock it out of the park when there's a gun to my head because I've waited so long. Like a lot of the stuff that I've made, I've waited to the last minute and I've been like, this has to get done tonight. And I sit down and I'm like, oh, I fucking love how this looks or how this sounds or how this feels or how it tastes or whatever it is, whatever it is you're creating. And I think that's harder to do when you're, some people, like I'll put it this way, you're talking about how you and your wife have like sort of similar or dissimilar tendencies when it comes to procrastination. My wife and I are kind of opposite, almost to a scary level, where she doesn't procrastinate on anything. She handles shit immediately to the point where I feel guilty about it. And also, I've known people like this where, like, they get a text, they respond that second they get the text. They get an email about a work thing, they handle it immediately, they jump on a project. Like, I've worked with a bunch of people who are really good at shit like that. Like, Greg Miller, is one of those people that, like, is a fucking wizard at that. And it's like, so many times I've just kind of been like, how do you do that? And it's a habit thing. It's just a matter of sort of just like, this just popped in, I'm going to handle it and I'm going to move on to the next thing immediately.
I don't think that's even necessarily type A.
I don't know what it is.
That's a thing that some people have and some people don't.
Yeah, and it's like the concept of like I never have to ask my wife ever, did you do that thing? Did you handle that thing? Did you do that thing? I don't have to double second guess or whatever the fuck. she is constantly asking me, hey, did you pay that bill? Hey, did you do that thing I asked you to take care of? Did you call the doctor? Did you do this? Did you do that? Oh, did you take out this? Did you take out that? I'm one of those people that's sort of just like, I'll let the problem balloon until it's like a fucking massive issue. And it's weird because as a father now, so much of my tendencies to do those things get immediately nuked by the fact that everything in a baby's life is immediacy. It is like, I need this right this fucking second right now.
Well,
I need a diaper change. I'm hungry. I'm tired. Fix it right now. So you can't, you can't just like, you can't procrastinate with a shitty diaper on a baby or a hungry kid.
I think there's the term is triage.
Yeah.
That's like when you prioritize stuff. That's like, I don't know why I know that word. I really like that word though. Triage
yeah,
is
good.
like, that's how they, in an emergency room, that's how they like prioritize like who needs treatment first. They're like, who is in the most dire need of medical help, medical attention. I think that applies very well to other stuff. If you have a shitty poopy diaper, like you got to handle that ASAP because that's fucking awful if you don't. That's terrible.
Again, because that veers into this is immediate medical problems if you let this sit too long.
I mean, same deal with like when my dog has to go pee. I got to let the dog out. I got to handle that because if I don't, he's going to pee on the floor, and then it's a whole other problem. It's like a clear and present problem to take care of,
which then turns into a thing where you're getting towels and then like cleaning your floor.
Meanwhile, though, then you get like I don't know something like there's dishes in the sink, and we have a dishwasher, so it's like maybe if the dishes in the dishwasher are clean, we got to unload those, so it's a 2-step problem, and then the dishes in the sink pile up. But that being said, it's something that's it's right in front of you, and it reaches a point where you cannot work around it. Like you'll be like, there's either no dishes to eat off of, or we can't use the sink. Like we won't fit any more in there. But on the other hand, something like laundry is easier to push down the road.
Yes.
Because like, I don't know, I got a bunch of I'll wear clothes I don't necessarily like.
Mm-hmm. You can also shove it in a bag and hide it in the corner of a closet and not think about it.
Yeah, no, I need to do I got like a full hamper right now. I'm wearing this shirt from some shitty podcast available at weirdheat.com. Go check it out.
Go check it out. I have more, this is a dumb sentence an idiot would say, but I have more socks than I have forks. So like, when we go through like our 8 forks,
it's like a Alanis Morissette B-side.
I know, right? When we go through like our 8 forks and they're in the dishwasher or they're in the sink or they're just dirty, I have to take care of that immediately. But if I go through my 4 pairs of socks or whatever the fuck, I have a whole bunch of other extra sitting around.
I think there's something to be said for like having like I wear like the same kind of underwear. I have like one kind of underwear I get like fucking H&M boxer briefs, and that's the same thing I've had across the board since like
I wear the same ones.
Yeah. And you don't have to think about it. You don't have to be like, you don't have like a favorite. You're like, you're just kind of like, yoink, let's get to it. But then I'll have like undershirts where I'm like, I've got white ones and gray ones and black ones, and then sometimes just that minor selection is enough to fuck me up.
Well, exactly.
And of course, it's stuff that no one sees, so it's not really a big deal.
There's that notion in laundry that's almost like the weird hall pass to dress like a fucking idiot is that you just go laundry day. You come to work dressed like a maroon, and you go, it's laundry day, which means like this is the last available item I could have possibly worn before I start wearing rags, run around in the nude, or put stinky old clothes on. But there's no sort of metaphor to that to eating. Like if I had pasta with a spoon, it would be a different story entirely. So really, there's nothing you can do there.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky. Like I've gotten in the habit of doing like meal planning, like just kind of like putting together a bunch of bullshit at the beginning of the week. So then I don't have that excuse of that last minute panic to be like, I have to figure out what I'm eating for lunch. It's the fucking dry noodles and Count Chocula or whatever. I don't have that.
It's a good lunch.
I don't know. It's funny though. Procrastination I think it's a terrible habit, but if we didn't have it, we'd go insane.
It's definitely one of those things that like I'm trying to be better on. I feel like it's like cyclical or seasonal for me, where there's some times where I'm like inspirational acoustic guitar plays in the back of my brain and I'm like, get it all done.
I think that, procrastination is also a symptom of sort of a go big or go home thing where you have to, it's very binary. Like it's not a matter of like, I mean, sometimes it's a matter of doing part of it. But for the most part, either it's a thing you finished or you didn't, like when it's responding to a text, like either you did or you didn't,
Right.
Like, and I guess you can procrastinate and be like, I'll get back to you, which is sort of a thing, but we're getting in the weeds here. But the point is, it's not the same as half-assing it.
Yeah, no, definitely
half-assing it is a key ability. And I think that the procrastination thing the habit that I would have growing up is like that, you'd be like, I'm not going to do my homework today. I'll put it off. And then it would be late and then I would have more homework to do. and then suddenly it's a snowball effect where it kind of builds up gradually and it becomes.
I was going to say that too, because I would say for all of our collective fuckery, we're pretty good at not half-assing it, I'd like to think. I mean, like we have deliverables every single week that are due around the same time, our shows and, our podcasts and stuff like that. And a lot of them are live or they air at the same time. They happen around the same beats on the same days. And like we bring it all together when we have to. And sometimes we're doing our homework on the bus and sometimes we're eating fucking pasta with a spoon or wearing rag socks or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, like, we try to avoid that because I think that's weirdly worse. Like to just consistently deliver like mediocrity. I'd rather like fucking like skip a couple of things and then just nail it on the last few than just be just like known for somebody who just always half-asses shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's healthy.
I don't know what that. I mean, I think overachievers fuck it up for everybody.
Yeah, they do.
I think
fucking
people,
rein it in, you dudes.
Workaholics
and gals.
the fucking type A people. I think they can fuck right off. I think they're the reason the world is in flames. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. I don't know.
No, you're making us all feel bad about this shit.
But no, I mean, and then I think
take a long lunch.
I think there's, you the second you start to think of yourself as like a slacker or somebody who's incapable of doing everything, it's like, well, you're not capable of doing everything anyway. No matter what you do, you're falling short of some achievement.
There's that weird notion of like, and it happens with procrastination too, but in charity where you're sort of like, well, I thought about delivering or giving money to this charity, and that in my brain is a good thought, and that's charity. And I have that with like, well, I thought about texting back, blah, blah, blah. And so I
set a reminder to text that person back.
That's close enough. But that person on the receiving end or non-receiving end of that non-text is sort of like, that doesn't help me. Like that, you can't do anything with that,
Yeah. I should just start like, I don't know. I can be like, let me, I'll record video of myself tossing and turning at night thinking about how I haven't done this thing. And if anyone calls me on my shit, I'll be like, actually, I have video footage of me really worrying about the moment that this would happen. So.
Well, here's like the fucking defeatist part of this shit is I don't, like, at the end of a lot of these shows, I'd like to look in the camera and go like, hey, if you're suffering from this, talk to this person or here's some things you can do. I don't really know how to get better at this. Outside of like actively pressuring myself to take care of shit the minute it pops up. I don't really know what to do. I mean, should we hold ourselves to this? Should you and I sort of be like, hey, let's make a pact to kind of like try to get back to emails better? Or like,
I really don't want to do that.
I don't either, man. It's
I want to
scary.
be better about getting this show together. And I want to be better about making art and doing, I don't know, designing T-shirts and shit. I feel like no matter how regimented and structured you are with your life and about getting shit done, you are creating a false sense of stability.
Yes.
And the universe will always come in and fuck everything up.
Yeah. So take your time.
No matter how carefully organized your breakfast nook is, a baby deer might come wandering in and start eating napkins off the table.
Yeah, that's true.
They say that. That's a saying where I come from.
Yeah.
It's a common saying.
It's a big problem in Jellystone Park.
So don't leave your kitchen door open and the baby deer won't come in there.
Yeah, change the baby deer's diaper.
Yeah. Don't put the goldfish bowl on the burner because it might heat up and cook the fish. It's
shocking we've cultivated any audience at all.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're part of any of our audience, thank you for bearing with us. We have more to come, more for this show.
Yeah,
and we'll get around to it. I swear. If you want to buy t-shirts, weirdheat.com. If it's laundry day, if you want more shit to wear when your other clothes are dirty, we appreciate it. And if you want to talk to other people about things you've been putting off, head over to facebook.com/groups/weirdheat. If you want to send us an email, it is weirdheat@gmail.com. We're also weirdheat on Twitter. That's on my phone. I keep meaning to check that. That's got a bunch of notifications.
Yeah, we got a
damn. Again, if you want to just fill up our fucking inbox and just really help with this whole thing, but
give us a nudge. Give us the nudge we need. We'll do it right back to you.
And of course, if you want to make the gun to our head slightly larger, you can kick us $1 or $2 at patreon.com/weirdheat. That is honestly the kind of one thing that really keeps us doing this is the fact that we have obligated ourselves to doing it, which is nice.
It's nice. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. And go listen on Spotify or subscribe on iTunes, leave a review. There's every possible way you can subscribe on YouTube. I think we're getting like consistently less views every video we put up.
No, we're doing okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's worse every week.
Okay, with that attitude,
maybe it is. Prove me wrong, internet. But anyway, thanks for watching, listening, or I don't know, clicking out 45 minutes ago, whatever it was you did.
Yep.
This is weird.
10 minutes before the episode started, you X'd out.
We're trying. That's the best anyone can say.
It's fucking hard, man.
It's cowards talk, but at least we're talking.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get it done. That was Larry the Cable Guy's original thing. We'll get to it.
Getting round to it.